He's here. Joakim Kemell is set to make his NHL debut tonight. We're going to tell you what Andrew Brunette had to say about his game and who Kemell could be playing with. We're going to talk about it on today's Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this game day episode, this Friday episode, shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who tune in each and every weekday to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. I'm Ann Kemell. I'm a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio, and friends, you know I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Nashville Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Emma, we have talked about this earlier in the week, and it's like Barry Trotz was listening. Or he may have had this idea himself. I don't know. Joakim Kemell, ladies and gentlemen, is with the Nashville Predators, and he is set to make his NHL debut tonight in Chicago. We're going to share what Andrew Brunette had to say about Kemell's game. We're also going to hear from Kemell himself about this opportunity. And we're going to preview the back-to-back games this weekend. We really think Nashville needs to win these ones. Before we dive into all of that, want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Emma, we didn't get to this news on yesterday's show because we were talking about some big things on yesterday's show. If you all did not see yesterday's show, tune in. We talk about Andrew Brunette's future, and Emma says all the quiet parts out loud. And I mostly agreed with her. But Vinny Hinostroza was placed on waivers earlier in the week. He was picked up by the Minnesota Wild, which made all of us go, hey now, Luke Evangelista and Mark Jankowski not at practices this week. What's going to happen next? What happened next? Joakim Kemell was called up from Milwaukee. Very excited about this NHL debut. Of course, he is the 2022 first-round draft pick. He was picked 17th overall by the Nashville Predators. He is a young sprout at just 20 years old, and he's a Finn. But when you look back to that draft, Emma, the one thing I remember most about that draft in 2022 is how everybody was like, looking around like, there's no way that we're really gonna at 17 get Kemell. Like, he literally fell into Nashville's lap, basically.
Yeah, he was one of those surprise guys that like, oh, he's still here? Yeah, we'll take him. Like it was one of those. But yeah, he's obviously now since come over, played parts of 3 seasons in Milwaukee, and been very impressive there. Really, really strong postseason performer for Milwaukee.
Yes.
Even that first season, he came in really just for the postseason and had like 8 goals or something. Like it was crazy. So I think, it's kind of nice to get like you said, he's a young sprout, gives you an injection of youth. You kind of see the game in a little different way. It's new, it's exciting. It's, kind of gives a spark to the rest of the guys too. And it is kind of nice and wholesome. He was sitting in the locker room. His stall was next to Kevin Gravel, who obviously he had played with in Milwaukee, and he was asking him all the questions like, where do I put my laundry and all this stuff. So it was very sweet and wholesome. So excited to see how he fits in with the group.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of potential with Kemell's game. Of course, when you think about him, the first thing you think of is his shot. This is a young player who has a great shot. Think very underdeveloped, but remotely, vaguely sort of reminds you of an early underdeveloped Steven Stamkos from The Office. Like, I don't want to say, look, he's the next Steven Stamkos. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying he just has that shot from that spot that makes you go, oh, Okay. And here's what I love about him. This is a player who loves to shoot the puck. How many times, Emma, have we screamed at the television or said quietly in our minds on Media Row, put the puck on net, shoot the puck, shoot the puck, shoot the puck. I don't know that you're going to have to encourage Joakim Kemell to do that. Last season in Milwaukee, he was tied for second for the most shots taken behind Igor Afanasyev. Interestingly, tied for second with another guy we know, little Mr. Zachary LaRue. So I like the fact that his game is shoot the puck. Like what a refreshing thing. Like I love a pretty pass, but sometimes you should just shoot the puck. And I think that hopefully we're going to see that. I understand like there may be a little more hesitation or nerves for him making his NHL debut, but that's what I want to see. I want to see Kemell shoot the puck.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I have witnessed this slap shot. It's like the slap shot heard around the world. Like it would. I mean, it is a sight to behold. I don't know, it depends. Obviously, I'm sure there's going to be some nerves and just the newness of everything. We don't know how aggressive he'll be with it in his first game against Chicago, but I mean, whenever we do get to see it, it's a sight to behold.
Yeah. You all will know what we're talking about when you see it. You'll be like, that's what they were saying. You're going to see it and go, okay, there it is. The other thing that I really like about his game, and it's so funny because he is not a particularly intimidating in stature. He's 5'11" in hockey terms. Is he really 5'11"? Listed at 182 pounds. But he plays big. He's not an exceptionally large player. His physicality, it reminds me of Philip Forsberg, because you look at Philip Forsberg and you think this is a guy who plays pretty hockey and he's high skill. Philip Forsberg is so freaking strong. And you don't look at him and immediately think, oh my gosh, he plays a strong game. You look at Luke Schenn and you go, oh, that guy's freaking strong. But don't let Joakim Kemell's stature fool you. He plays a very strong game. Like he is not afraid to be physical. He plays like a big player. Contact, not afraid of it. Great when it comes to hunting pucks, does not back off, even though, again, not necessarily this intimidating presence. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how he does. And again, this will be his NHL debut. So we'll see, how that goes. But I do think that's an element of his game that's underrated in the sense that you look at Philip Forsberg and you're like, skill, and you forget he's built like a brick poop house and can use that. Joakim Kemell's the same way. Skill, built like a brick poop house and can do it the same way.
It's just a great boilerplate for skill, brick poop house. Love it.
That's going to be in our swag store one day, y'all. Emma and I so want a swag store. And of course, our number one bestseller this season will be Sure. Just a sweatshirt that says Sure, Locked On Predators. Sure.
Yeah.
But yes, we're adding things in our mind to our swag store. We did talk to Andrew Brunette about Joakim Kemell coming up. And I love that this is what Bruno talked about. Of course, his shot, his shot, but he talked about speed and skating. And this is what Bruno had to say. He said, I think just again, we want him to use his speed. I think when he skates and he gets on pucks, he's a competitive kid. He can really shoot it. When he relies on his shot before the skating, that's where I feel he gets in a little bit of trouble. So we just need him skating. Did that give you a flashback to end of the season last year, Phil Tomasino conversation with Andrew Brunette? Do you remember Bruno said something very similar about Phil Tomasino, the skill before the shot or the skill before the skate or something like that? I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. We'll see. But it's going to be so exciting. NHL debut tonight in Chicago. Here's the big bummer of it, Emma. Milwaukee, not far from Chicago. You're like, oh, all the Ads fans are going to see him and his teammates. No, they're not. The Admirals play tonight too. So fat lot of good that does.
But Kemell did say that his parents are in town, that his parents are going to be in town and they're going to be at the game in Chicago, which is really special. So I'm happy for
I
that.
love that. I always worry about that with the international players. I'm like, can you get their parents here in time, please?
Yeah.
Apparently
I know
so.
how
They're
you
gonna be there.
worry.
You
I
know
know
how I worry. That also could be swag. Coming up, we are going to hear from Joakim Kemell. He's going to talk to us about how he feels about making his NHL debut. We're also going to talk about where we could see him slot into the lineup. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Are you looking for tickets to your next big event? Whether it is a concert, a comedy show, or a sporting event, you can find the right ticket at the right price with Gametime. With Gametime's Gametime Picks feature, it has never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Gametime Picks, the app does all of the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticketing options. The seat view feature is a game changer. Before you even hit buy, you can see exactly where your seat's going to be in that venue. And the best part, you are covered with Gametime's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they're going to refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Emma, talking about Joakim Kemell and making his NHL debut tonight. We did ask Andrew Brunette about like, hey, where do you see him slotting in? And he gave kind of a couple of options. He said he could potentially slot in with Novak and Svechkov, or maybe he could slot in with Ryan O'Reilly. What are your thoughts on maybe what the best fit might be for this NHL debut?
I'm torn on it.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, you have the Fedor Svechkov, who he played with a little bit in Milwaukee. So there's some familiarity there. And Svechkov and Novak have been doing really well together. So you want to keep them together. So I'm like, it makes sense. I could see it. Plus, third line, a little bit less pressure, down there, I think. But then at the same time, on the other hand, you have Ryan O'Reilly, fantastic culture piece. Like he's a great kind of stability safety net guy for a young player coming in. O'Reilly and Nyquist would be good for him in that way. So it's like, maybe that would be better. I don't know. I don't think I'd be necessarily unhappy with either outcome. Plus, we know that Andrew Brunette tends to have the itchy trigger finger. If he does not see what he wants to in the first couple shifts, he's going to change it. So we could see both combinations tonight.
That's true. I'm with you. I can see an upside to both. Like, obviously, very familiar playing with Svechkov. Again, anybody is a better player with Ryan O'Reilly. Like, that's just an ideal spot for a young player coming up. My concern or just my question is I hate to see Novak, Svechkov, and LaRue broken up. Because if you look at a lot of the advanced statistics through the last 10 games, and I'm talking this is true through most of the wins and most of the losses, that line has generated more high danger chances than any other line. They have been so good. They've been very good in expected goals for. Again, we've seen Andrew Brunette already do some tinkering, but I'm like, there is something about that line with Zach LaRue and Novak and Svechkov that is working. And it's like, look, if you have very few things working, is that the one you want to jack around with? I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. But again, I think to me, the linchpin in that is the Svechkov Novak combination.
Interesting.
I'm not saying that LaRue has not, been a part of that, but we've seen LaRue, even within games, he's been moved up to that O'Reilly line at times and then back down. And there was kind of the comment from Brunette about LaRue that, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but when he said like he kind of needs to maybe rein it in a little bit, he plays with an edge and you like that. You don't want to discourage it, but you just got to kind of hone it. And I think maybe having him on that O'Reilly line is a way to kind of do that. You get him with a couple, stable veterans that kind of, help.
Centers.
Yeah, it centers him, helps him to kind of like discipline a little bit. I don't know. So that's my thought on that. Again, I agree with you though, and that for that same reasoning is why I would specifically not split up Svechkov and Novak because their has been really strong.
Yeah, they've been really good to watch. Regardless of the outcome of games, they're generating offense for this team. Did get a chance to talk to Joakim Kemell today after practice. It was really great. We've got some clips. We've got a clip here. We've kind of pieced some things together. He talks a little bit about how he got the call, how he's feeling, his game, and what it's been like coming into the locker room where there are those familiar faces. This is what he had to say after practice.
So excited, and that's why I work for so hard every day. So it's great, feeling great. Of course, my own game and my strength, like skating, scoring chances, and of course goals. That's what I'm gonna bring and try to bring every night. Just to focus on myself and like get prepared well. Like you only play once your debut, so I'm so excited, but you can't be too nervous. So I'm trying to calm down before the game and just trust my own game and help the team. There's lots of players who I played with this year, last year, so I've been talking to them and asking what could help me to come into this league. So yeah.
How nice is that to have guys like Gravy and Zach and Svetch that you're familiar with, you already played with before?
It's nice. Like it's way easier to come in because lots of players. They kind of around your age, so it's great to have them here.
It is so sweet to see him talk about that. Like, it's so nice to have them here. I think it's got to be really intimidating to make your NHL debut, to be recalled and walk into a locker room where there aren't that many familiar faces. So I love this for him. There was a picture on social media as they were walking to the plane to fly to Chicago, and it's Svechkov and Kemell, and Svechkov's like pointing at him like, "Hey, look who I got." So I think it's really sweet. Very cool. He does talk about he says the magic word goals. Don't tease us. Like, don't tease us, Joakim Kemell. It's been a tough season when it comes to goals.
Goals, not goal posts, please. Not crossbars, not goal posts, just goals.
Remember, the opening is actually bigger a target. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like I feel like the Predators, when at the All-Star game they used to do like the shooting accuracy challenge. I'm like, put one of those like targets on the goalpost. This team, they'd hit it every time. Nailed
it.
Like it's impressive. It's impressive.
You almost feel like you could like combine all of them together and have like a really cool song, the sound of failure over and over again, and put it to like a beat. And that would be the song of the Nashville Predators season. Oh, may that not be your fate, Joakim Kemell. May that not be your fate. Failure. The sound of failure.
That would be the name of the song.
It would be. Like, look, we've got so much of the work already done except the whole technical part.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? We're still working on the swag, folks. We're nowhere near ready to cut our first album. One of our insiders had a really great question when the news broke about Joakim Kemell, and just wanted to know, is there a risk bringing up a guy for his NHL debut on a team that is so traveling on the struggle bus right now? Do you see that as a risk for Kemell at all?
No, I mean, there's always a risk. Like, of course, it's not ideal. But if you think about it, more often than not, when a guy's getting called up to make his debut in the middle of the season, things probably aren't sunshine and roses. It's either because someone got injured or the team is not doing well. So I think it's like, yes, obviously there's this kind of unprecedented, slump that the Predators are going through that really has lasted the whole season, it feels like. And of course, it's I don't know that risk is the word I would use. I think it's actually going to be good for him and his development. Like it's like getting hands-on experience, it's something that if you're in this league long enough, you're going to go through the hard times, and there's never a good time for it to happen. It is what it is. I mean, you think about, again, all these guys like Luke Evangelista, when he made his debut, it's when the
Very
whole team
true.
was hurt
Yeah,
or
that's true.
hurt and traded. And I just think that I wouldn't put too much stock into that, into the situation, because if anything, it's almost a benefit, because yes, the team is on the struggle bus. Kemell has not been with them through this. So he shows up kind of bright-eyed, like fresh-faced, and maybe that is what this team needs. It's like they need someone, with a fresh perspective on it. Not saying he's gonna like change the entire like dynamic of the team, but just like, yes, he's coming to this with fresh eyes, and I think there is something to be said for that.
Mhm. I also think in some way, and you make a great point, you usually don't get called up if the circumstances are amazing in the NHL. But I also think there's something to the fact that he's coming in a situation where there's not a lot riding on this. You know what I'm saying? Like Nashville is not 2 games out of the postseason race. Like YOLO this. It doesn't mean don't try, but there is not a lot of pressure as a young player where I can't let the team down because we're so close. We're not even in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that takes some of the pressure off. Andrew Burnett had an interesting comment about what he wants to see from the Nashville Predators in their game. We're going to share that with you, and we're going to talk about these last 2 games before the break. We just wrestled with one of the questions that we got from one of our Locked On Predators insider. It's such a great community, and Emma and I want to invite you to join that community. If you want to talk Predators hockey beyond the podcast, you can join our Locked On Predators insider community via subtext. You can talk to Emma and I about what you're seeing in the games. You'll get breaking news. You can share your one word or more, because insiders, we get to break the rules. And we just love to hear from you. We love to answer questions and just share your thoughts on what you're seeing from the Predators this season. If you are interested in talking to Emma and I beyond the podcast, check it out. You can learn more by clicking the link in our bio or the video description. Emma, Andrew Brunette had a really interesting comment when we asked, like, what do you want to see in these last 2 games from the Nashville Predators? He said, I want to see the team play with joy. Is it too much to ask, y'all, for a little fun?
Yeah, I like, for the crowd, and I know they're out there, they're very loud and they're very angry, and I understand, but the crowd, the school of thought of like, no, they shouldn't be happy, is like, why would you be happy? Don't have joy. You're playing like crap. And it's like, okay, I understand the sentiment and I understand you're upset. The problem is they are also very upset, and it's making them play worse. And
Right.
so it's like, again, it's like you said, easier said than done. It's not just like, oh, well, like, we're terrible. We're one of the worst teams in the league. Like,
Can you imagine Steven Stamkos being like, oh, well,
yeah,
we're
no,
terrible?
no.
No.
But like being able to find that joy. And that's what I sense when you go in that locker room. It's a tight knit group, and the group is like, when people, again, they go for the low hanging fruit because they don't know what the answer is. But I think that people who are saying that the chemistry issue on the ice is related at all to the chemistry off the ice, that like these guys don't get along or they don't like each other, could not be further from the truth.
Mhm.
This group, they believe in each other, and they do play for each other, and there's a good vibe around this group. So I think that you want to see that now translate to the ice, like to the on ice, because they, of course, it's natural, it's human nature. You haven't been doing well, you lose 5 in a row, you start overthinking things, you start gripping your stick a little tighter. It's harder, and I know that obviously this break is coming up, the Four Nations break. I think it's gonna be really good for a lot of these guys
Yes.
to some time away. I talked to Steven Stamkos about that at practice specifically, just you know good to get away for a little bit. But you still have 2 games before that, and just try to, like you said, like, let's try to have some fun. It is a game after all.
Yeah. And again, there's not much for Nashville to lose or to gain, but I do think this team wants to be able to go into the break with a much better feeling. And they're going to have to try to get these wins against Chicago and Buffalo. And when we say, oh, these are beatable teams, keep in mind that it took a shootout to beat Chicago, and Buffalo won the last time we played them. So these are not gimme games, and nobody in that locker room is like, oh, well, we can beat them. Chicago right now, 16-31-6. The last time they played Nashville, again, January 16th, it was a shootout win. What is so interesting to me about that game, Nashville outshot Chicago 41-26. Now you add Joakim Kemell, who loves to shoot. Maybe we'll get 50 shots on goal. I don't know. But I do think that's interesting. Their goaltending, Soderblom, has been so good lately. Like, he's been really good. He's made some incredible saves. So we'll see who we get in net. Obviously, I think we're going to see Saros and Annunen. It is a back-to-back. I don't know. I wonder if we'll see. This is just pure speculation. I wonder if we'll see Saros tonight, give him a little more rest before Four Nations, or maybe the opposite is true. They'll want to give Saros the last start, keep him fresh before he goes. I don't know. What would you do?
That's a good question. I'd almost maybe give him the second start, give him the last start, keep him fresh. Because
Yeah.
if you're like, you don't want him to get injured. I'm not saying that taking 1 game off would put him at high risk of getting injured, but if you think about it, it's like you don't want him to have too much time off,
Yeah.
like at once. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it going either way. I wouldn't be upset about either outcome, I don't
Yeah.
think.
It'll be interesting to see what like Ben Vanderklok and Mitch Korn and them suggest / tell Andrew Brunette about that. When you look at the Chicago game, Emma, what's a key to this game for Nashville?
Score?
I mean, just throwing it out there. Just throwing
Like,
it out there.
I don't know. I think that, again, this is a Chicago team that, I mean, yes, I said score and I was only half kidding about that, but, it's been the defense that's been the bigger issue. Yes, they've struggled to score as well, but that we've seen that they can do that. We haven't really seen the defense. And I think, this is a Chicago team that's obviously struggling. They got rid of Taylor Hall already. Connor Bedard has had a down season by his standards. I'm just saying he scored a couple pretty nice goals against Nashville already this year.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
all anyone's talking about is, Bedard, he's slipping. It's like, first of all, he's like 12, so let's ease up a little bit. But either way, I think that this is a team that is fragile offensively. In Chicago is. They also just lost, I don't know for how long, but Jason Dickinson,
Yes, I saw that.
it looked like an ACL to me. He
It
was
was
not putting
not
any.
good looking.
Saw that on Wednesday night when they played Edmonton. Took Edmonton to overtime, by the way.
They did.
They lost, but they still took them to overtime. So, like, this is just not a team that you can sleep on. I'm definitely rambling, but I think my key to the game would be to shut these guys down. Like defensively, you have to shut these guys down because they don't have a lot of weapons. And the weapons that they do have, a la Connor Bedard, are not performing up to standard. So it's like, I think that if you kind of localize your efforts defensively, like maybe try
Maybe.
to eliminate those chances for them. I mean, again, you talked about in the last game, it was they were outshot them, what'd you say, 41 to
Like
26?
41-26. Yeah.
I mean, they were limiting the chances for sure. So I say more of that, definitely more of that, and then maybe find the back of the net
Just
once
throwing
or
it out
twice.
there. Yeah. I want Nashville to stay out of the freaking penalty box.
Yeah.
This shocked me. Chicago is 9th in the league on the power play. Like, this is one of the worst teams in the league. They are 9th, and they are really good right now. In their last 10 games, I think they have like a 28% success rate on the power play. Here's an idea. Don't commit a penalty. Don't commit a too many men on the ice penalty, or Emma and I might lose our minds. Like, you just have to play smart. You cannot be throwing opportunities to the 9th best power play team in the league if you want to win this game. Buffalo, Saturday night at home. It's going to be at Bridgestone Arena. So back to back, one on the road, one at home. Last game before the break, of course, we all remember the Buffalo game. It was just like it was yesterday, but it was 84 years ago. Predators lost 4-3. Here is one of those stats that tells the truth, except it's lying. In that game, Nashville had 14 high danger chances to Buffalo's 5. Nashville should, I mean, like that stat alone, you'd be like, oh, Nashville killed them. No, they didn't. They lost 4-3. Y'all, I need the team to do something. Buffalo will be coming off of a 3-day break. Nashville will be coming off of a back-to-back. Nashville has not looked good when they're tired. So they're going to have, oh my gosh, it was so bad. Y'all, it was so bad. And we cannot have a Pittsburgh game against Buffalo at home the game before the break. They've just got to play 60 minutes of hockey. And Buffalo hangs around. Buffalo is like whatever the virus is that's going around now that's not like super horrible. You had it, but it lingers. That's Buffalo.
Yeah. And Buffalo's an interesting team because they have a tendency, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it's kind of a trend with them that they've done all year. It is not uncommon for that team to jump out and score the first goal. They did it against Nashville. They already did it once, but they tend to start really hot out of the gate. And then they tend to kind of pull back and slow down. And so like them getting off to a hot start, this particular team getting on the board first, whatever, not necessarily indicative of, how the rest of the game is going to go. So I think the key for Nashville, and this has been something that we've talked about a lot with this team, it's always like as soon as Nashville does something good, they immediately sit back and let the other team do something good. And it's like, no, why can't we just build a lead, hold on to a freaking lead if we get it, and not immediately sit back and give the other team those opportunities? And when the other team gives us those opportunities, perhaps we take advantage of them.
Capitalize on them. When someone gives you a gift, score a goal. That would be great swag too. If someone gives you a gift, score a goal. We'll workshop that one. On Monday's show, we of course will recap whatever we see tonight and Saturday night against Buffalo. We are also going to preview the Four Nations face-off, baby. I am so excited about this tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun. Emma and I are going to talk through the rosters. We're going to tell you a little bit more about the tournament. We may even give out our picks on this. Despite the fact that the Predators are off for 2 weeks, Emma and I are not. We are still going to be bringing you lots of content. We're going to be talking about trades, what Barry Trotz needs to be doing. We're going to be talking about this roster. We're going to be talking about next season. We're going to have some special guests and some crossovers. So make sure you stay tuned in here starting next Monday. Emma, before we log off for the weekend, let everyone know where they can find you and your work.
You can find me on social media at Emma_Lingen, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
And you can find me on social media and K_Mama on Ice. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio as well. Friends, that is going to do it for this week's episodes of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for joining us and making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back Monday with some game recap, and we're going to preview the Four Nations. We'll see you then.